Chelsea have won a Premier League match at Stamford Bridge for the first time in 8 attempts. How crazy is it to say that? But let's not dwell on the past and let's look at the fact that last night we started what I truly believe is about to be a good run of results as this new look Chelsea side look to kickstart their rebuilding process. People, if you're new around here, I'm Joey. This is the Joey Knight podcast, and today, once again, I, as well as you lot, are very, very lucky that we are joined by my good friend Josh Aveste. The link to Josh's channel is in the description of this video. So at the end of this video, if you like the content, please subscribe, click the bell to my channel, but also head over to Josh's channel so that you can subscribe to his channel and see all of the content that he is banging out on a weekly basis. Josh, how good is it not only to be back at Stamford Bridge, because it was the first time you had been this season, it's the first time I've been this season, but how good is it to be back at Stamford Bridge seeing us win a game?
I've forgotten what it feels like.
I know, crazy.
Do you know what? It was one of those games where recently I've been watching the Chelsea matches and I've been thinking, oh, what am I got to say? I've got to think about like dissecting things, I've got to think about tactics. Yes, I just forgot about it all, mate. And I was just completely in the moment. It was great. I loved it. Loved being back. I was in the East Upper, seeing the game. It was brilliant. What did you think about it?
Yeah, it was good. Do you know what? I had a bit of a weird one. It was a bit different to my usual. So I'll normally sit in the Matthew Harding lower, but I was in the West Stand. I was sorted out by Jet Set Hospitality. Yeah, so they do hospitality packages for all the games. And I had looked at a few little YouTube videos and stuff, not necessarily from them, but I was thinking, okay, this is going to be good. Mate, it was plush.
Why? What was it like?
Oh, it was nice. I
Give us the run through. I want to know exactly what went down.
So we went in through the Copform Hotel, straight in, and I was going to say, like, I stuck out like a bit of a sore thumb, I reckon. Maybe that's just paranoia, but I was thinking, God, everyone in here is very posh. Like, it was suave. Like, it was nice, yeah. We had, like, 3-course dining, which I thought was going to be like a buffet that we go up and pick from. No, it was like, what fish was it? It was like tuna starters. I had cod in like a nice buttery sauce for my main. Yeah, complimentary beers. And the biggest, most astonishing thing about all of it is I had about 10 pints last night. And I texted you at what time this morning? About 8 a.m, wasn't it?
I was fast asleep, mate. You were up before me.
I texted you this morning like, mate, I'm feeling fine. Let's get it cracking. So, yeah, we're back in. We're recording today, obviously, it's Saturday. We've got the football going on. We just heard that Spurs are 1-0 up. And this is going to drop tomorrow, Sunday. Tomorrow's a big day for both me and you because we're back on the kickoff once again. 4 p.m. the kickoff live stream starts. It's the live stream for the Newcastle against Liverpool match, which has become a bit of a grudge match between them. I know Brian's absolutely desperate for Newcastle to win that. So make sure that you lot carry on supporting us as you always do by heading over to the kickoff YouTube channel tomorrow, 4 p.m. for the live stream. Get in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. We will see you all there. But back to this one. Let's start off with the formation because me and you had both spoke quite a bit in favour of changing to a back four. We did see Poch stick with the formation that he's been going with in recent matches, which is obviously a back three. You can see it on screen now, the personnel and the formation that started. What were your first initial thoughts when, I'm guessing at around 7 o'clock yesterday evening, you checked to see the team sheet?
I was thinking, is Poch going to roll the dice or are you going to keep on seeing the same formation? And it seems like he's got like his favourites now. Obviously, we've got, 9 injuries? We were looking at it the other day. Like, it's a crazy amount of injuries. And so the amount that he can actually change is very limited. But I was surprised that he isn't rolling the dice a bit more. It seems like it's just we're going to be playing the same team week in, week out. So all of these team predictions that we're doing at the moment, it's just like, well, it's just going to be the same team next week, isn't it?
So do you have any confidence now that he's going to go to a 4? Or you think that's pretty much regimented on now? I
think he's going to argue. And actually watching it more yesterday in person, you can see it when we're building up. It does actually start as a 4. And Colwill, more often than not, was like sitting on that left-hand side in the left-back area. God, he was so good. We need to talk about him as well. He was really immense, wasn't he?
He was really good.
But I think it actually does look more like a 4. The discussion point is actually more around like the midfield now. Is like how does that set up more than anything? But yeah, like I understand what Poch is saying, and it's not a Tuchel Conte 5 at the back system, is it really?
No. Looking at the actual match itself, I thought we started well. I thought we looked dangerous early on, and I thought that the fact that, we started to register shots and create chances early on was something that was massively promising, really, because, quite a lot of times last season, we get to like the 20-minute mark and I'll be like, what's going on here, man? Like, if we hadn't conceded already, we definitely hadn't scored. But yesterday, we got on the goal sheet early. Sturbo, I know we're going to talk in a lot more detail on his performance, but my God, is he playing well at the moment. What were you thinking around 20 minutes in? We had scored that first goal, because then there was a bit of a lull, I would call it. There was a period where we sort of plateaued a little bit and it went a bit quiet. We weren't as creative as we had been at the start. Were you worried around that time?
I feel that there's always been like an instruction gone on by the management team not to push too hard in that first half. It was weird because we did feel like we pulled our foot off the gas. I don't know, did you feel that way?
Yeah, I thought that after the 20th minute, we're 1-0 up and I'm looking at things and, okay, we were still creating bits and pieces, but the sort of energy in terms of my enthusiasm being sat in the crowd did start to drain out of me a little bit. And one thing that would be worth mentioning is the way we keep possession. I know we were playing Luton last night, but we also did it at times against Liverpool. We did it a lot against West Ham. We're keeping possession a lot. I think our actual possession stats over the course of last season, bearing in mind different systems, 4 different managers in total, if you include interim and whatnot, but our possession stats, we were keeping the ball for sort of just under 60% of the time. You look at this season already, just under 70% of the time. 10% spike is a lot when it comes to possession stats. So one thing we're doing is we are keeping hold of the ball a lot. But yeah, there was for me, maybe a 40-minute period, stretching into even the second half after we got that first goal where we nullified the opposition, but it just became a little bit flat. And
I want Chelsea now to be going in games against Luton and the likes of those teams. And no disrespect to them, they've just come up and I think they actually put in a decent performance yesterday. But we need to be getting very aggressive to get goals early in the first half, because there was a couple of moments yesterday, mate, where they could have got that equaliser. And if they get an equaliser, then the game completely changes, doesn't it? So we need to sort of try and kill off a bit more teams. So in a weird way, we were kind of lucky to do it, but overall I thought the performance was very good.
What I would say is this, one sort of popular thing that I've had a few people message me about and a few friends I've spoke to that were at the game and sort of were watching the game were saying, we can't afford to be doing that when we're against higher level of opposition. And what I mean by that is we can't afford to take our foot off the gas and just play that possession-based football, because ultimately you look at the West Ham game and the possession-based football didn't really matter when it came to the scoreline. What I would say is this, to use a boxing analogy, right? When I felt that I was massively in control in sparring, even sometimes in fights against other boxers, I would do exactly what Chelsea did last night, which is just go through the motions. I'm in control, it's all fine, but maybe I don't go for those sort of killer shots and whatever. When I would up the level of opposition, I'd really be on my game, and that wouldn't happen ever so much. So what I would say is, when you look at the fact that we felt we were very much in control, I think all the players looked comfortable. There wasn't really shaky moments. It just, it just dropped off in terms of creativity. I think that when we do up the level of opposition, which inevitably will be coming, especially in October when we look at that run of fixtures, I think we'll be all right there. I think a lot of sort of cause for optimism after last night. Obviously, look, 68th minute, I think it was, just before the 70th, Sterling gets on the goal sheet again. And then, finally, something me, you, and every single Chelsea supporter has been very, very hungry to see, Nicholas Jackson opens his account. First of many?
I think so, yeah. I think he's going to bag the goals in. It was so exciting to see him get that goal. And also, let's just go back to the second goal for a second. Gusto's cross. Again, just brilliant. Just thought he was absolutely great. And then, Jackson to get his goal at the Matthew Harding end. It was just brilliant. Did the knee slide celebration. You got to love it. So it was brilliant.
You mentioned Malo Gusto there. Let's move on to individual player performances and let's start with Malo Gusto. One massive concern of mine has always been, what do Chelsea do without Reece James? Last season, the season before, pretty much ever since Reece James banged in that goal against Brighton behind closed doors and established himself as a first-team starter, whenever we've been without Reece James in that team, there has been a significant drop-off. And there's no denying that. Whether you've got a club legend in Azpilicueta playing there, who in my opinion was a little bit past his sell-by date, whether you've got a man that I love, and I'm loving seeing him do well over in Italy, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, deputising in that right-back position, or whoever else we've had there, you can't deny there is a significant drop-off when we don't have Reece James there. I do believe that one of the most vital and important things of why I think we're going to have a good season this year is the emergence of Malo Gusto in that position. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is going to be a very interesting one. I was seeing rumours about it on Twitter yesterday. People saying, is Gusto going to be so good that he displaces Reece as a right back. And this is something that I feel that could happen. We've seen Reece play for Wigan. We've seen Reece play in the midfield potentially for other teams as well. Could that be the next movement in his career? When he has to go up and down, that's where you sort of see the sort of explosive acceleration, some of those tackles that he gets. Maybe that's where he's getting injured. Yeah. And so a couple of people yesterday are going, leave Gusto play him. He seems like he's built very, very well. He's got the pace. He's younger. Again, everything is looking good. And then maybe you end up playing Reece in the centre mid. Now we've just signed about 18 centre mids, so that's the issue that you're going to have to deal with. But I think overall, Gusto's making a big claim to sort of like start in that right back position. What a good problem to have.
It's a brilliant problem to have. And do you know what? Amongst my viewers, everyone that gets in the comments, that is a very, very popular shout. Now look, we love our football, and it's not to discredit anyone because I include myself in this category, but there's a reason that Pochettino is the manager and not me and you. So there must be a reason why he hasn't looked at that, because actually, I don't know if you remember, but in pre-season, I was sort of calling for that. I was saying that we should have a little look at try and Reece out in that central midfield position. This is before the signings of Caicedo and before the signing of Lavia. But I do look at it and I think Reece could probably play most positions on that pitch. You know, you speak about him in the central midfield role. People might think I'm crazy. I could see Reece in a right wing position, you know. Some of these fullbacks are so versatile and have such a high ceiling that they can be slightly wasted in certain positions. So it's a problem, but let's be honest, it's a good problem, isn't it?
It's a really good problem, yeah. To have two absolute quality right-back options is going to be great. And I think Reece will end up getting injured again and Gusto will come in and play. So even if we... Look, let's be honest, I think we're all acknowledging how good Reece is and we're trying to fit him in the team any way we can. And he'll end up being back at right-back. But, you know, to have Gusto in there as a very good backup and also challenging him is a very good position to be in. We haven't had that in a while, have we?
No. So Malo Gusto with 2 assists last night and a really, really solid home debut, wouldn't it? Because he didn't play against Liverpool, has put a real claim to holding that position. One man who's also put a massive claim to holding his position, even when Benoit Badiashile comes back, is Levi Colwill. Now, I can't really sit here smug because everyone knows what a talent Levi Colwill is, but I said, you know, around the time that we had seen him on the pitch with Noni Madueke after that England youth team tournament, and I was very worried that we wouldn't have him sign a new contract, we wouldn't have him here. I'm so happy. One of the things that I'm already so happy about this season is the fact he's here, he's signed with us again, he's in the first team, and I don't see him being dislodged anytime soon. I've been massively impressed by him. A few people said to me, what, you were impressed by him at West? Yeah, I was impressed by him in the West Ham performance as well. I think that Levi Colwill can hold the key to breaking the chain of those sideward passes that we saw. You look at his performances, he splits the line with these passes sometimes, doesn't he?
Yeah, there was a ball in the first half. I don't know if you remember it.
To Jackson.
Yeah, just like a ball which I actually like gasped at. And I think there was a few people around me. There was sort of this moment where everyone just went, what? Like, they couldn't believe it. So, like, I've been waiting for moments like that. And actually, even we were talking about it pre-season. We saw that at Brighton for Colwill, where every time he'd get the ball, he'd drive and move it forward. He'd either run forward or play a pass forward. And that's what we were really looking forward to. And when you were talking about possession at the start of this video, back in the day, we would have just gone side to side, side to side, side to side. Jorginho backwards, Kovacic backwards. And that would be how we kept the possession. Now, we had 60% last year, but 60% of it was actually ineffective possession. Whereas you look at what we're doing now with people like Colwill or people like Enzo, when they get the ball, not only do they retain it with good passes, but the passes that they're doing are forwards. So I'm so excited to have a English, you know, Chelsea Academy graduate at the back, wearing number 26. He had to wear number 26, didn't he? And apparently, by the way, that's his birthday. It's got nothing to do with JT. I don't believe it. But it's brilliant.
Do you know what, right? I honestly don't think that Mauricio Pochettino is going to have a massive headache there, even when Benoit Badiashile comes back with Levi Colwill. You look at the versatility, he's almost playing as a left-back at time with Chile pushing on. So interesting to see what happens. One manager who will have a massive headache when it comes to Levi Colwill is Gareth Southgate. Because I tell you what, right? it looks at the minute, unless we see something late on, like Harry Maguire staying at Man United now. You know, he had the opportunity. They had the bid accepted by West Ham. Why he didn't go there, I don't know, because I really don't see him getting back into that Man United team. Listen, I like Harry Maguire. He backs himself. Because I'm not a Manchester United fan, I can take away any sort of ill feeling that I might have around him, because a lot of those Manchester United fans don't like him. They don't play a system that suits him, and ultimately he was getting game time over players that they feel were more deserving. However, one thing that has been deafening is the criticism of Gareth Southgate for continuing to stick with Harry Maguire. But what Harry Maguire had going in his favour was he was always playing quite well for England. And who are the alternatives? You're looking at Mark Gahey. You're looking at Fikayo Tomori. Great players. But I tell you what, when it rolls round to Germany 2024, Gareth Southgate is going to come under huge criticism from not just Chelsea fans, supporters all over the country, regardless of what club their allegiances are to, if he doesn't put Levi Colwill in that team ahead of Harry Maguire.
It's very early to say, but I think that it will be John Stones and Colwill in the next game for England. I'm saying it's going to happen that quickly. That's how good he is. And I think actually the England staff acknowledge that he is that good. And if Maguire isn't going to play any games, then he shouldn't be starting anyway.
That's been one of England's weak points for quite a while. We've got brilliant attacking flair. We've got a number 9 goal scorer. Great midfielders coming through now in Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham. But the depth at centre-back hasn't been there. I'll tell you what, if both are fit and firing, a centre-back pairing of John Stones and Levi Colwill coming into this next Euros is as good as any. Absolutely as good as any. Exactly. Let's move on from that and let's have a little talk about the first glimpses we got to see of the midfield partnership that we all know. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that this is going to be our two in midfield. Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. What did you think of them yesterday?
I thought it was really good. Are you calling them a 2 or are we calling it a 3? Because this was interesting yesterday. We keep saying that Enzo is better going forward than he is going back. And yesterday was another example that Enzo was higher than Gallagher. So this is the thing now. The 3, I thought, actually all complemented each other incredibly well yesterday. I thought they all worked very, very well. But yeah, Caicedo and Enzo seems to always stand out in games. When people were saying £100 million, what a waste of money, is he actually worth it? I think, again, game after game, he does prove it. And I think Caicedo next to him, mate, is coming good. And I feel overall the quality of the performance was very, very good. What do you think?
I thought that Caicedo put a lot of the doubters to bed over that first performance. 58 out of 60 attempted passes completed. 100% tackle success rate. 100% long ball success rate. 3 interceptions. 2 blocks. Dribbled past how many times? None. He had a good game. And do you know what? Even that being said, and I really don't mean this disrespectfully, I'd still only give him about a 6 out of 10, and that's because the level I see him being able to go to. I think when I give him an 8.5 or 9 out of 10, you'll see why I'm only rating that as about a 6 out of 10, because that's how highly I hold that boy in regard. So I think Caicedo's going to do really good things. I think that partnership we're seeing there with Enzo maybe isn't exactly, as you touched on there, how I envisioned it. But Poch is a cleverer man than me, and if it's good enough for Poch, it's good enough for Chelsea, it's definitely good enough for me. I think we're only going to see really, really positive things from those two going forward.
Caicedo shut a lot of people up yesterday. You know, there were so many doubters. There were actually so many people wanting him to fail. They're mainly Liverpool fans. And I think the Liverpool fans that are saying that he's a flop are the same Liverpool fans that were desperate for him to sign for them.
Yeah.
So it's just hypocritical. And I think he's going to prove, not only in this game, but in the games coming up that we've got, that he is worth the money that we invested in him.
Yeah, I mean, as well, I'd agree with that. A lot of it comes out of bitterness and whatnot. And listen, maybe if the roles were reversed, maybe I'd be the same. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say I wouldn't be. But, you know, let's see how you get on with Endo. One player who I think I'm just going to have a little look to camera and give a little apology to here. I did say a couple of weeks ago when me and you were podcasting together that I thought Raheem Sterling might be better off going forward coming off the bench for us. Raheem Sterling has turned into prime Eden Hazard in this first couple of games. I actually thought there was shaky moments against Liverpool where I wasn't too sure, you know, just wasn't sure in his distribution every now and again, although he did do a lot of good things in that match. West Ham, he came good. I was gutted that we didn't get the 3 points because that was the best performance from Raheem Sterling in a Chelsea shirt to date. However, he's gone and blown that out of the water on Friday night. Raheem Sterling is on fire.
He did feel like a Hazard-level player when he was doing that run for the first goal. Do you remember that game against Liverpool where Hazard comes in from the right-hand side and scores that absolute wonder goal?
Yes, at
It was
Anfield.
very similar to that, actually. And obviously, like, different level of opponents. And so it won't be as lauded as that goal, right? But come on, that way that he got the ball on the right-hand side, dribbled through, 4 players, then slapped it in the corner. And also before that, he had that really good shot. Can we just talk about that for a second? How did the goalie keep that shot out? Because he pinged that. And I feel like the goalie just sort of just reacted really quickly.
It was powerful. I would say it was quite... It wasn't like put in the corner or anything. It was straight down the middle.
I mean, but the power of it was so immense. I think a lot of goalkeepers just might not be able to react in time. So, yeah.
And it was through the bodies.
Yeah, and it was through. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just absolutely brilliant. Some of the stats for him, mate, were absolutely crazy, weren't they? 2 goals, 1 assist, 5 shots inside the box, 1 saved rocket, as I've just said, and then an 89% pass success rate for a guy playing on the wing. It's just absolutely immense. So, again... We'll talk about man of the matches in a second, so let's not give it away. But what a performance from him.
Why has this happened? Why now? Why now? Because last season, funny enough, a lot of people forget he was our top goal scorer last season. But why now has this happened? I know I've got my ideas, but I want your view on it.
Let's talk about last season for a second with Raheem, right? I remember there were a couple of games that I went to at the tail end of last season where we were playing at Stamford Bridge. And Raheem is one of those players that when he's playing at home, you're expecting him to do big things, right? Like he did yesterday. And I remember some of the games, he was walking around. He wasn't tracking back. He wasn't pressing. He actually wasn't even really dribbling. He was just sort of like doing very short passes. And I was thinking, is his time up at Chelsea, right? And again, we saw a lot of rumours this summer about Chelsea would be open to move. Saudi Arabia could happen, right? And so the turnaround that we've seen from him is absolutely ridiculous. And what we need to talk about is the way that Poch has basically got his arm around him and basically like empowered him to sort of like move forward, isn't it? Do you think so?
I think so massively. Yeah. Again, I'm going to use another boxing comparison here, right? Quite recently, we have seen what we would perceive as very much dipped performances from Anthony Joshua. And that's because there's too many cooks in a kitchen, in my opinion. He's trying to box a little bit more tentatively. He's trying to be a lot more regimented with what he's doing, and he's being a bit more methodical and whatever. But we all know as boxing fans, whether you're a hardcore fan or a casual fan, when was Anthony Joshua at his best? When he was letting his hands go. When is Raheem Sterling at his best? When he's taking men on. When he is taking the game and thinking, do you know what? I'm going to take it by the scruff of the neck here. And we've spoke about a low block. And I have been a big advocate of, Ryan Cherky and saying that I think we should bring Ryan Cherky in. And because I believe, for what it's worth, I'm, no expert, but I believe that one of the things to... being able to exploit these low blocks and these teams that want to sit back against us is having a flair player who is able to take 2 or 3 men towards the ball and out the game. And then all of a sudden, the space is there. And I thought, well, we haven't really got one in the team. Let's see how Nkunku comes back and Chukwuemeka's good and whatever, but we haven't really got one. Maybe we should go for a Ryan Cherky. Raheem Sterling is now taking that role. And this is the Sterling that we saw at Man City when he was prolific at scoring goals. You know what I mean? And I do genuinely think, exactly like you said there, Pochettino has put an arm around him and said, listen, you're my guy, yeah? But don't, you're not playing for Pep anymore. You don't have to be so, systematically cute. You can just go and do your thing. And do you know what? There was 1 or 2 times that Sterling got dispossessed yesterday. Couldn't care less. Could not care less. I'll tell you when I will care. When you're slowing the game down and you're not sort of taking it to opponents and putting them on the back foot. But if you try and you run at people and you use those attributes, I don't care whether you get dispossessed once or twice, because what you will do is you'll end up popping up with a goal like that first one, which straight away, for me, has gone a long way to answering questions of how we're going to score goals. There was a quote that me and you almost, I don't want to say laughed at, but sort of thought, all right, mate. And that was in pre-season, wasn't it? Raheem Sterling, he's doing an interview, and I'm paraphrasing here, but someone asks him about what he expects from himself this season. He said, I'll be a top goal scorer. He didn't say I want to, he said, I'll be the top goal scorer. And you're thinking, mate, we brought in Nkunku, we brought in Jackson. We don't even know whether you're going to start every game. I think there's a very good chance he does finish his season as our top goal scorer at the minute.
Yeah, I've got to put my hands up, right? I was on his back a lot at the tail end of last season. And it's not because I dislike him as a person or a player. It's because I expected him to be the leading light in the Chelsea team. Because that is, in terms of the money that he's on, in terms of the performances that he should be showing, that's the level that he should be at. He should be our elite level creator, right? And I've got to say, there were moments yesterday that I did find annoying. There were passes that he didn't put through. There were moments where he held the ball on for a little bit too long. But overall, he was by far our best player and has been our best player for the entire season so far. So I think we as Chelsea fans now have got to sort of maybe get off his back, and I'm talking to myself more than anything here, get off his back, allow him the freedom to move forward and actually, do what he needs to do, be this mercurial talent, take on the mantle of like a Hazard level player, because there were moments that, as we say, where he was like that and do his best stuff. And there is no reason why he can't be top goal scorer. And actually, last season he was the top goal scorer in the Premier League for Chelsea anyway. So, there's no reason why he shouldn't be getting 15, 20 goals this year. And that's doable.
No relationship is perfect, yeah? No relationship's perfect. You look at romantic relationships between, me and my missus and whoever, right? And you look at it and you go, yeah, of course, there's things that annoy me. There's things when you do my head in and whatever, and I'm sure the vice versa. But the good massively outweighs the bad. And I think that's how we've got to look at this Sterling thing now.
Yeah,
so
I'm backing him. I'm backing him 100% now. Like, he can do what he needs to do, and he should be starting most weeks now.
Is it a stretch to say at the minute he's our most important player?
Enzo's up there. I think the engine room of Enzo, I think, is very, very good. And he's never really put a foot wrong for Chelsea other than a missed penalty. But we'll forget about that.
I know that there's a lot more that contributes to it. The only thing I would say to that is I massively agree with you, and Enzo's loved by the fans, and, he's absolutely brilliant. But in terms of controlling the game, we haven't had a massive problem with that so far this season. Yeah. What we have had a slight problem with is getting that ball in the back of the net and not, something out of nothing goal like Carnage Chukwuemeka's and whatnot, actual, consistent chances. So I think that going forward, if Raheem Sterling can continue to play like that, I'll put my neck on the line and say he might be our most important player going forward. Another player who will be very important for us, who we'll touch on quickly, very, very happy to see him open his account, is Nicholas Jackson. Happy to see him get on the score sheet?
I was chuffed. And more than anything, right, I was chuffed for my fantasy football team because I've been waiting 3 weeks for him to score a goal. Yeah. He's finally got it. So it was very, very good. I think, do you know what? Jackson's performance is one of those things where I think it's endemic of the entire team at the moment. We've got to be cautiously optimistic, right? I very much last night, if we'd filmed this video, I would have been screaming down the mic. I would have been saying, we're back. We're going to be top four easy. We're going to be ties of challengers because the performance was very good. You got to look at who it was. It was against Luton. I'm chuffed for him. He got his goal. He deserved the goal. But there's also caution here where it's like, I don't think he's now going to be the Premier League top goal scorer. No. But I really thought he played very, very well. He did everything he needed to do. He pressed. He made very insightful runs. There were a few runs where he didn't even get the ball, where I was just like, please just find him. And I remember there were moments in pre-season, by the way, where he was like to Maatsen or to Enzo even. He was like, just trust me. And they were like, I remember actually lip reading him where he actually just said, just trust me. Just give me the ball. And we scored quite a few goals in pre-season where it was sort of like a ball through, a ball over the top, where he would get onto it and score. And we haven't actually seen too many of those, where we've beaten the lines or gone over the top and trusted his pace, because they've actually been deeper than the pre-season games. So if we do get those passes through, this guy is going to score a load of goals. And even if we don't, he's going to end up scoring from the crosses. So I was very encouraged by that performance, and I'm sure you were too.
100%. I think number 9 is a position on the pitch, more so than any, when confidence is such an overriding factor in what sort of performance we get out of those players and what sort of numbers those players hit. And I'm really, really optimistic now that going forward into, let's say, for example, the AFC Wimbledon match if he plays, definitely the Nottingham Forest match when we know he will be playing, going forward into those matches now, I think that confidence factor, not only in himself, because I think he's a very confident lad anyway, but also in the players around him being like, look, we've got a player here that can find the back of the net and will. And like you just touched on there, we need to trust. And we do need to put our trust in him. I already do, but maybe I'm speaking to the rest of the fan base. Maybe I'm just airing it. But Jackson, a player that massively impressed me. Before we go on to man of match, just very quickly, I don't want to put a negative spin on this. Do we need to curb our enthusiasm ever so slightly? And the reason I say that is, I was a big advocate of saying that I do actually think that Luton's fairy tale story and their potential home form is going to be massively important for them this season. However, upon seeing what I've seen in the first 2 matches for them, yeah, I could be wrong. They could, really get going and whatnot. But I do think that I would struggle to name 3 worse teams in the league than Luton this season. I don't think they're at the Premier League level. And saying that, I actually think they're performing well, but they're performing well to the height of how they are able to perform. So do we need to not get too, overly optimistic on this? Or do we, like I believe, need to bask in the glory of actually winning games? This is what football's about.
Yeah, we've got to enjoy it. Look, the first thing to say is you and I haven't been able to see Chelsea wins a lot in the last year, or maybe even more than that, right? So the first thing to say is there's nothing wrong, and I'm speaking to the audience now, there's nothing wrong with enjoying this.
Nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely. Let's just all celebrate.
And these lot only know what they see on camera. They don't know the texts me and you are swapping, like, come on, mate, let's just fucking make this happen, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And we're talking about that. So I think the overwhelming feeling that I got last night was actually a bit of relief, firstly. And then you do just have to enjoy it. So let's just have fun with this moment. I thought the performance was really, really good. We can be very complimentary without saying we're going to now go and win the league.
But we're going to go and win the league.
But we're going to go and win it. We're doing it. It's easy. So, overall, I think, as I say, cautiously optimistic. It was a very, very good performance. We've got a very good run coming up now. And this is the perfect time for that run. Poch is now going to get his settled team. He's going to get his favourites. We've got loads of injuries, so that first 11 is going to remain relatively similar. And now they can grow and build chemistry, and we can go and smash some teams that are coming up, which are weaker or supposedly weaker. And then when we go and face the bigger teams, we've got that run where we've been playing very, very well. We've got the confidence, we've got the morale boost, and then we can go and play a team like Brighton or play a team like Arsenal and challenge them. So I'm looking forward to those games, but we've got a few easier games that we still need to navigate and win first.
Josh, at this point in the video, we always give our man of the match. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Sanchez.
Sterling.
Yeah, Robert Sanchez, amazing performance. What a great goalkeeper.
He handled that shot well.
Number one. Yeah, that shot was good. Yeah, we should call that out. Yeah, no, Sterling by far was the man of the match. I'm thinking, who else was very, very good?
Malo Gusto. I was about to ask the audience. I was going to say to the audience, it's boring to just say Sterling. So if not, who?
Yeah,
Malo Gusto.
Malo Gusto played incredibly well.
Enzo, I think we just know from Enzo now how good he is. And listen, I'm telling you now, do not be at all surprised come the end of this 38-game season if everyone has Enzo in that team of the season. He's the most likely central midfield player to break into it that probably wasn't in there last year. Yeah. We look at the likes of Declan Rice. We look at big money signings that have come in and whatever. There's not many better than that boy, I'm telling you.
So it's very easy, I think, and as we both agree, it was obviously Sterling that won man of the match. But I think there are 2 other players that I'd say, Gusto and Enzo. I think they both need to call out in terms of how good their performances were.
Like always, we are very, very interested to know exactly what you lot think on this. So let's eliminate Sterling from the conversation because he is man of the match. He's obviously man of the match. Eliminate Sterling from the conversation. Who was your man of the match last night? I know a lot of you will be going for Malo Gusto, but I'm very interested to hear your opinions. Also, I'm just very interested to hear not only your opinions on the match, which I know you're going to get there, but how are you feeling now? Are you feeling as buzzing as us? Because I'll tell you what, we really are happy. I'm so lucky not only to be joined by Josh, but to be joined by Josh when we can actually be optimistic and celebrate a really good win. We look forward to the match against AFC Wimbledon. Once again, I want to remind you a couple of things. Firstly, subscribe to Josh's channel because if you're not, what are you doing? Sunday, 4 p.m. We, alongside Brian, the True Geordie, and a couple of other guests, will be live on the kickoff. Head over to their channel at 4 p.m. The kickoff on YouTube. The live stream will be going. We'll be talking a little bit of Chelsea. We'll be talking all things Premier League, watching the Liverpool against Newcastle match, which is a big one. I'm obviously massively appreciative, for being on there and, having these opportunities that I'm getting now. And a lot of that is down to you lot. In fact, all of that is down to you lot. So thank you very, very much. That's it, innit? We'll see you in the next one.